The president is back in the country, by the way. He came back yesterday, and the very first thing the president did was convene a meeting. And the meeting will have FEC members and, of course, the security architecture to discuss the current problems facing the country. You're very much aware of how much the commodities are selling for. Well, I was alarmed yesterday when I went to eat, and I'd like to use that as an analogy because I don't know how much a cup of gari is selling precisely at the moment for today. Because you could go to bed with a cup of something selling for say 50 naira, and you wake up the next morning it's 100 naira. So it's the state of the nation, and our focus is on the economy today. Citizen, let's get straight to it. State of the nation, focus economy. For you, um, how do you see the economy at the moment? Is it man-made, we the people, or is it something that is global?
Um, well, the world is a global village, which was just like a fairy tale some years ago until we discovered that social media and technology has reduced the world to a level where you can, in real time, be in touch with whatever is going on at the most remotest part of the earth. But that in itself has not uh, eliminated the fact that in various constituencies, communities, local governments, states, and a country, or let's take Africa as a continent, Africa, that what goes on in US affects us so adversely that uh, we can't help ourselves, even though we are willing to help ourselves. So the fact that there was a COVID which was man-made, very highly manipulated, and it affected the entire world. Thank God Africa was not as affected by the analysts and the stakeholders who had thought we were going to lose so much in terms of human and material, but we survived. I think Europe and other part of Asia lost more people than Africa. In terms of economy, we are blessed with so much natural resources that we have become the shopping ground we have always been for the entire world. As we speak, uh, China has taken over quite a great deal of space, both officially and unofficially. We hear of illegal mining going on. We used to hear it somewhere in the north, and some persons from a particular part of the world were being said to be responsible. But in Akwa Ibom, right here, in Ibom, we've heard reports and the community rising up to say, no, these people are mining our resources illegally. Be that as it may, we are not good at serious conversation at state level. People prefer to talk on national issues more because they feel if your voice is loud, anything you say may affect your next meal. And that's quite unfortunate, and which is what has already brought us to where we are, both locally and nationally. Now, the world is a global village, but no, we have inflicted ourselves as a people. First of all, as a people. Why? Leadership is different, as governance is different from partisan politics. I've always said this. Anytime there's election, people are bound to be in one party and the other. And in Nigeria, there are no political parties. All that we have are just vehicles people bought to get to their destinations to be able to secure their well-being. And they don't shy away from telling you that, like it or not. So, the citizens are now left with being honest to themselves, knowing that the real leaders are the citizens who give these politicians the mandate to lead them for a specific period. But where you become nonchalant, where you are suffering and then you smile so that your leader who has become your oppressor would not take offense, that you are complaining or you are bringing up ideas, it's a very big challenge. So the crisis both food and security crisis that we are in now is not just done by our leaders. I hold citizens responsible because I was born to hear that a hungry man is an angry man. But I tell you sincerely that typical Nigerians who are very hungry, who are in trauma, have refused to be angry.
Well, you cannot say that for sure, because of course the anger has been expressed in Niger State, it's been expressed in Osun State, it's been expressed in Kano State.
I was coming to that because there's no way we will talk about this matter without clearly pointing where things are happening, and then also aligning ourselves with what is the feeling of the government in power about such occurrences. Already I've given you an instance. Locally, people don't like talking about issues that concern them in their immediate environment. Why? Because they feel the man that holds the ace, for instance, in a state, is the governor. And then the local government chairman, or maybe the commissioners, who most of them are political leaders of their local government, whether they deliver or not. All that matters is that politicians have been able to structure themselves to have leadership. It doesn't matter what result they produce. After all, the greatest result they need is just return the votes by whatever means. So when you talk about political leadership, is one of the worst things to have happened to us as a people. And then you go to traditional institution that has also been infiltrated by politicians, and you go to religious institution that has also been taken over by political interest, enough that it takes the guts of a super citizen to be able to hold views or hold ideas, not in terms of condemning what government does or anything government does, but bringing the alternative, having ideas to bring to the table. That has not been what is expected. What has not been happening at the state level. But the same people at the state level talk about national issues, and now I was talking about people.
Anger.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, we're
the hungry man.
And you say the hungry man is an angry man, and you say people are not expressing the anger.
Yes.
And I was trying to correct you that that may not be entirely true, because I mean, you see the waves of protest in some states, although it's been argued that this protest is sponsored by politicians.
I'm coming to that. Okay, we cannot run away like I'm saying, talk about state, then go to region, go to national. Ike, you are aware that the MBS report 2022, which was made available in 2023, in fact, that data was released during the summit, the Arise Summit, by the Pastor Moino administration. In the midst of that very wonderful program, the data on the multidimensionally poor people in South was released. I'm sure it was across the nation, but what concerned us was that of Akwa Ibom, which placed Akwa Ibom State as the state with the highest number of multidimensionally poor people. A state that is so rich.
The data from where?
MBS 2022,
okay,
released in 2023 during the Arise Summit, where stakeholders, His Excellency brought stakeholders to come and think out how his administration will run. And in the midst of it, that data was released, that Akwa Ibom has 71% multidimensionally poor people, in figure 5,800,000 or thereabout. That's 5.08 actually million people multidimensionally poor, and that's the highest in the South. Bayelsa has the highest, 81 or 82%, but because of their small population, that figure is in the region of about 1 million persons. Rivers State is also very high, and I think Edo State. And you look at, these are the states that
oil producing,
not more than oil producing. You look at what they get monthly. We get what 2-3 other states in Nigeria does not get in a month. And by the time you look at the kind of things that are on ground, particularly the immediate past administration, you cannot, in all honesty, say that, yes, the best was done to be able to put the people first. But now the people who are being affected, are they complaining? Yeah, you may say that, go to radio stations, people calling, lamenting, and one thing or the other. But some of us who actually don't just complain, you are very familiar, okay, you are very, very comfortable with always attaching town hall when you mention open forum. Open forum is not a town hall foundation. The town hall aspect was just an aspect of our initiative. It is Open Forum, Care for Humanity Foundation. And we have different initiatives. And one initiative that we brought to bear under very terrible, very excruciating condition was the town hall aspect. Why? Because we'll be able to bring people across board. It's a non-partisan thing, which is very rare. It hardly happens. And what do? We create a dialogue from people from government, from opposition, from the private sector, from the traditional institution, religious institutions, students, artisans. There is no level, the labor, there is no level of our state existence that Open Forum has not been able to bring to the table. And we also do world press conferences, and we make ideas available. Ike, tell me, which of the ideas that we brought forward were taken? Why? Because I can't forget, and I will never forget, I'm going to document this, that you can find a commissioner who was a beneficiary of a town hall meeting with awesome outcomes. A woman that was never able to meet in office, but eventually was able to send a representative there to represent her. By the time we finished, what I heard one-on-one, I was shocked to my bones that, so you conducted town hall meeting to go and attack government. What does that mean? It means that discussing issues and preferring solution, you have exposed government to ridicule.
All right.
So it's so bad, and because of such things, a number of persons that have ideas don't want to bring ideas, particularly if they are in government, because you'll be told that you are in government, you cannot advise government. So those citizens who are really suffering, what have they done? How many protests have you seen? How many...
So is the solution going to come from protests? Because, of course, let's put facts on the table,
Yes.
citizen.
Yes.
We've seen protests in Osun State.
Yeah.
We've seen protests in Niger State. And we've also heard about the one in Kano State. Now, this protest, let's be real, how much solution does it bring to the table? Should we be protesting or preferring solutions? And if you feel we should be protesting, how immediate do you think the succor that we seek via this protest can come?
A protest must not be violent. Protest is about the only way the public can make their views to be heard. Remember that last year, for 7 days, I went on a hunger strike. Not just to protest, but to draw the then government's attention to my plight, which I was clear, I was categorical that I was a victim of an organized oppression. Not just me, there were other persons. And one of the persons that was also there died about a month or two after. Why? Because government refused to even do as if we exist.
So if that protest
Yes.
did not bring any fruit,
Yes.
what makes you think that the protests going on in the country in some states will bring any fruit? The president's attention has been caught, no doubt.
Yeah.
He's back in the country. He has convened a meeting to address these very concerns. But then, is protest now the solution to this economic quagmire that we're in?
The process, I led, the hunger strike, one cannot see it did not yield result because it yielded result. You see, there are things that are like fruits. you may look at it, it's not ripe now, but under the right condition, it's going to ripe, and by the time it's ripe, you will not be able to deny, whether you like it or not, you're going to eat it. And let me say something I've not said on air before. You know, I've not come out fully into public over the kind of things we used to do. Why? Because I'm ashamed at the next level of activism that I will undertake. Why? Because some persons who feel that positions of responsibility given to them is not for service, but for
personal aggrandizement,
for self-aggrandizement, accumulation of wealth, and then believing that they should be respected even if they fail. For God's sake, nobody is a subject. That era where people will say, oh, these are subjects and these are the lords, at long gone. We are all citizens.
So what do we do?
What we do
in the face of this situation?
Yeah, what we do in the face of the situation is to keep on engaging those in authority constructively. And I gave you this.
How constructive is constructive engagement?
As constructive is like the protests that you cited in Niger State, in Kano, in Osun State. Interestingly, it does not happen in South-South. It does not happen in Southeast yet, but very peaceful. 2, on the 5th, Southern and Middle Belt leaders met, and that itself is a protest. They did not meet to blame government for what government is not doing. They meet to bring the issues at stake to the front burner, and then to suggest ways of addressing them, which is what we should always be looking at. If somebody is complaining, has he made any recommendation on the way forward? It doesn't matter if he's carrying placard. It doesn't matter if he sits quietly like I sat. I just sat in front of government house entrance, and even when one of the days that the governor saw me 5 times on about 2 or 3 different days, I did not make anything. It only that one of those days I lifted the banner and screamed, "Semin Mio, Semin Mio, Semin Mio," weeping. And the aides who had wound down the glass, they looked at me and they laughed, and they passed. And somebody came and told me, His Excellency Governor Emmanuel has gone to US.
Okay.
Now, nothing happened, but that fruit is ripening. It is going to drop very soon. Southern and Middle Belt elders met, and they looked at the issue of the insecurity, and they said the primary responsibility of government is the protection of life and property of the people. So
you didn't mention the part of welfare.
No, I'm coming to that. So there's no 2 ways, because the country is more or less, like they said, under siege. So what is the way forward? You look at the issue of the high cost of living. There's no 2 ways. Nigeria is in trouble as we speak. So what is the way forward? They have made recommendations. Let me just be very brief on that. Okay. That there was a confab, the 2014 national confab, that was done by President Jonathan, who himself was so criticized by the then APC government, enough that the APC government then, they were not making recommendations on the way forward, but they were calling Jonathan names, calling his wife names. You remember one senior man that called the wife Shippopotamus? You remember how Jonathan was called clueless by the spokesperson of the party, by major leaders? They called him drunkard. There were no suggestions. Even when the Boko Haram that was making life miserable for Jonathan and the country offered that they want to be on the round table with government, they appointed the then former President Buhari to be their spokesperson. You remember what happened? He declined. Nobody says he was the sponsor of Boko Haram, but because he had also said that killing Muslims, killing Boko Haram was depopulating the north. The party said so. The then president said so as a person. So don't disturb these people. So they even came forward to say that these people are freedom fighters, equating them with what happened in Niger Delta, where militancy was to raise conversation on the level of degradation and the looting of our commonwealth in the Niger Delta. They said those jihadists, the terrorists, the marauding headsmen were freedom fighters. And some even said they were doing business and all of that. So we did not have the APC then prefer possible solution, but it was a ploy to use and give the then ruling party PDP a bad name enough before the populists for them to be able to take over. That is politics.
Is that not what politicians do? It's synonymous. It's not synonymous with just the APC.
No,
even the PDP does that.
Such can only succeed where the people are gullible, where the people are ignorant enough to buy in. Why? Because even the conversations, someone will say, you are talking like this. What did you say during the Jonathan era? Open Forum started as a magazine in 2010. And one of the editions, we wrote that Jonathan should build more prisons because the kind of corruption that was going on should have more people behind bars. Yes, we've said that under Jonathan's administration. And I remember one of the, I used to call it executive summary, I mentioned that Jonathan is the fastest growing politician in Nigeria as at then, from being deputy governor to becoming acting governor, becoming the governor, and he moved from there, vice president, and then president, all that within almost 3 years. Where did that happen before? But that I said, he has been driven to that spot by providence. And what you do after that is left for you. But that if Jonathan is not able to put the country right, he is going to leave Nigeria worse than he met it. I will send you, maybe I'll just screenshot that page and send to you. So what am I trying to say? We have been doing this over the years. And I did that not because I hated PDP. Yes, I was even in PDP. Now, unfortunately, the administration of Jonathan was eased out. Not because he would have been eased out if he had the political will, because he was also seen as a weak leader. There are some decisions he would have taken which he could not take. I said that, I said it over and over again. So they capitalized on that and eased him out. Now, the APC is in power. And like I keep saying, this APC is not the same APC under Buhari. Why? Because APC has been able to play the role of being a ruling party and the opposition party at the same time. Current President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu campaigned against the APC very loud and clear everywhere that they don't know how to think, they don't know how to do, that he was coming to do what he knew, he knows how to do best, and then some persons who are not familiar with Lagos sold that narrative that he is going to bring the Lagos magic wand to lead the country. And some of us that are Lagos breed, we know who made Lagos, we know Lagos, and we know even when Asiwaju was the governor of Lagos, the challenges that Lagos had. So to sell that narrative was first by itself, like George Orwell said, that political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and more than respectable, and to give an appearance of solidity to pure air. I said so even on this program, that impression is not correct. Now, fast forward. The issue has been the promise or the campaign promises that were made. And I am not trying to sound as if I live in a different world than we all live. If you look at the campaign, remember there were town hall meetings, there were debates organized. And even the listeners will testify that one of the candidates, very prominent candidate, who refused to be part of those town hall meetings and debates, happened to be the winner of the election, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And his handlers defended that. So when people were saying, go to town hall meetings, go to debate, and said, we all agree. This one would be said he was going to remove subsidy. Atiku said he was going to remove subsidy. At the point he had even earlier said that he would sell NNPC to his friends. That was even during the campaign against President Buhari. And people were saying, hey, you want to sell NNPC to your friends? And he said, why not? Will I sell it to my enemies and all of that? That became like a minus for Atiku. But what do we have? We had the APC candidate who avoided debates, avoided joint conversations, but also said he was going to remove subsidy. But there's something people say. When you are tutored on the question, will you also be tutored on the answer? It's not enough that removal of fuel subsidy was the campaign slogan of virtually all the candidates.
So, citizen,
Yes.
if I may ask,